Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co host, Dennis O'Brien, and we have a wonderful guest for you this evening, don't we, Dennis?
Yeah, we do. We're going to keep it a surprise until he walks in the
he's
studio.
right here. We just saw him.
He's outside.
He's perusing the
He's
area.
working, actually.
He's actually doing
He's doing some work.
And so he will begin shortly. But I've got a few
I think
things to talk about.
He's at the door now.
Yeah, here's our guest. He's
Matt
coming
Rupar is right on it.
Thank you, our great producer,
I saw
Rupar.
somebody come to the door.
Now, I want to just say a few things before our guest comes. And that is, we had a great meeting about Joshua's will, and it set the stage for 350 years ago to create Windham, the Windham County area. And so we had a great thing that was put on by the Mill Museum, and it was the Joshua's Track and how it began, and it was a wonderful presentation by so many different people. And I brought my grandchild, Katie Kidd, with me, and we had a wonderful time.
Plug for the grandchild.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
All right, got to have the plug for the grandchild. And now,
Valuable airtime there.
Now we have our wonderful town manager, Rob Zernetsky. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure, always.
It's great, and I have to say, you always keep us so well informed with your weekly report. I love it. I go through it, and it really helps me figure out all the things that we need to do. And here's some people walking by. See if they wave at us. It's cute.
I was able to get a staple through it. I didn't think I could.
Yeah.
It's pretty long. It's growing, and he does it every Friday, I believe, right?
Yep, every week.
Yeah,
Every week, and the town hall is closed on Friday. Something I would never have done, and I don't think Rob agrees either. But I don't know. He'll have to have his own opinion. But
Well, I'll tell you, on Friday closures, I think it's nice to be open late on Thursday. I do think that's been helpful to residents. Traffic's light. It's not like, a ton of people come out on Thursday night, but it is nice to have a late hour day in the week. I think it is unfortunate that we're not open on Fridays. I'm there every Friday, and there is not a single Friday when I don't have somebody knocking on the door, somebody rattling the door trying to get in. I do think that's frustrating to folks who are trying to get business done and, expect business to be conducted in the regular time frame for, any other business is open on Friday. I think folks would like to see us open on Friday.
regular business hours. I have to agree with you. I was a probate judge for 12 years, and I used to go in on Fridays. And at that time, it was open on Friday morning, but closed at noon. And I'd go out to grab a sandwich, and there would be 15 people at the door.
Yep.
And I have to tell them that, okay, if you have something that I can just stick in somebody's box inside, I'll do it for you, but I can't let you in.
Yeah, I have to say it every Friday. Lo siento, lunes.
Yeah. That I couldn't do. I'm not as
speaking
multilingual as you are.
As we move
a great
forward through your great work that you have put out this week, I want to go through some of the things that you're doing to talk about.
Is this today's report or last week's?
This is today.
Okay, good.
Right off the press.
Yeah. So first of all, tell us about the Kramer Building at 322 Prospect Street, and tell us about the good report that you have here. That we are showing some momentum here to move this project along.
So a couple of months ago, we put out an RFI, a request for information, to see what developers thought about the site. We had a number of really thoughtful, really intelligent perspectives brought to the Kramer Building. And based on the information we got from prospective developers, we've put out an RFP this week. It's due in about 6 weeks, but we're going to ask developers at this point to give us their best idea about how to redevelop that site. Almost everyone who responded to the RFI said, we think it wants to be student housing. It really is right next to the university. It's in a neighborhood that is residential in character. And if we can design the right residential structure, we've got a perfect, home run development for student housing in a neighborhood that already is designed for residential use. So we're open to other ideas. The RFP does sort of call that out as a solution that's already been identified. But if anybody's got other ideas, we're open to hearing them.
Well, that's great news. It's great to see you moving along and having some progress on that. And now moving along to the next thing is the site around 85 Bridge Street. I presume that's the place that had a fire and now needs to be cleaned up.
That's the massive fire that occurred 2 or 3 months ago now.
Yep.
And the building is coming down. It's unsafe. There's no way to make it safe. There's no way to sort of restore
course
that
not,
building.
yes.
So a demolition company has been retained. They will be going in this week to bring the walls down. The former occupant of that building will have the opportunity to go in once the building has been secured and made safe. He'll have the opportunity to go in and find any belongings that might have survived the fire, the water that went onto the fire, and then the weather that we've had since the event. Hopefully he'll be able to find something. But once that's all cleared out, the future of that site is still sort of up in the air. The town owns it, so it could be made into sort of a pocket park. We could sort of make it a overview for the river. It's in a nice location on the river, but it's a pretty small parcel. It is possible that somebody could build a new building there, though. So we're still looking into whether or not the real estate company that we've got doing our sales of property thinks it's a marketable piece. If they do, we may put it out to bid, or we may put it out for sale.
Well, that area that we've just finished with the Whitewater Park, and the grand opening is the 23rd. So come on down and see all the great work that's been done. It took a couple of decades to get to where we are with environmental cleanups. I was able to get some resources and money for the park, and also so were the people who have been great workers on the Whitewater Park. I guess Peter Leeds is the chair of that board. And so we are very thrilled with the beautiful work that's been done.
It really is amazing. And if you haven't had a chance to go down and look at it, please do. It really is a night and day kind of change. It's made a big difference. And I know the folks at the Whitewater Park would be interested in sort of dealing with the piece now across the street. The other side of the river and the other side of the bridge. So it's sort of kitty corner from the park. It might be a nice location for that kind of amenity. But again, still very much up in the air. The council has not had a chance to sort of consider all of the possibilities yet.
Well, it's very exciting just seeing that. I'll never forget when it first was cleared away, and I had a hearing in the probate court 3 or 4 years ago. And I was there looking out the window before I went in to see the judge. And I go, my goodness, this looks so nice. And now it really looks amazing.
Yeah, it does.
So, it's been wonderful work. And I want to talk a little bit also about the buildings on Main Street. Our building here, we have almost a full building completed on Main Street. I can't believe how quickly that happened.
It went up so fast, and it really is nice to see. A missing tooth has been replaced. It's
Yes.
part of the streetscape that really was very noticeably absent, and it's nice to see the streetscape filled in again. That building is now being leased out. He's already got leases. I understand there may be leases signed. I know that he's got applications that are actively being vetted, and he's fully expecting to be fully rented and up with students ready to go to UConn and Eastern this semester, this coming semester.
So exciting. And the Fleet Bank building looks like it's coming along. I see where they put the electrical opportunities in there. And how's that going?
Well, that's going. I mean, how it's going, I can't tell you, but it is going. The fact that it's moving forward is good news in and of itself. And I think I'm going to leave it at that because I don't have enough detail to sort of tell you one way or the other whether we should expect amazing things or just good things forward.
Well, I mean, good things are acceptable.
I think good is good.
Exactly. So those are some of the great things that are going on. I know that we have a few things that are going on with respect to expansions. We've got the Bob's IGA that's been a project in the work for a while.
Yeah, he's looking at another 9,000 square feet, so quite a big addition to that facility. He's been able to secure some funding through the USDA, and that's a great project.
Yeah.
Wonderful facility, always been a sort of staple of that side of town. It's nice to see the business thriving. It's nice to see them expanding, and hopefully soon we're going to have a better and bigger Bob's.
And I mean, it's a great Bob's right now,
is
but
a great Bob's, yeah.
greater Bob's. Imagine
Exactly.
a greater Bob's IGA. We're looking forward to that, and I'm very, very excited about it. And of course, now the Nosnick property. They're going to continue being able to utilize that facility for farmland?
For at least 1 year. There was a lease put in place, and there's now a 1 year extension that we've given that allows the farmer to continue to harvest hay.
You know, we need that so badly. I can't tell you how stunned I was when we lost the processing plant in the next town over where they got rid of the grain elevator. And when we lost the grain elevator, a lot of the farming land was needed again to produce that because we weren't getting the grain from the Midwest anymore for for our cows and our farms. And so that really stunned me. And that's like in 2013. I was meeting with a bunch of public health people, and they asked me to, the people that shut down our grain elevator asked me for some help with some things. I said, well, why didn't you reopen our grain elevator? They were surprised that I knew all about their grain elevator, but I was quite on top of it, and they still, to have that limitation on that grain elevator in Franklin really, really annoyed me. And so this is an excellent thing for us to be able to continue to produce things for our dairy farms, because we have a huge need for that, especially now that we are in a situation where a lot of the surplus national agriculture is not being allowed to be dispersed. And so we are now in a situation where we have to really make sure we take advantage of every agricultural opportunity we can make.
Yeah, one of the things that we tried to do with this extension, though, is make sure that we have flexibility going forward. The town can still sort of change it up next year, where our commitment is for this year, not for a 20-year period. So we do have the ability to deal with Nosnick differently as funding becomes available for the development of the site as playing fields, or if we need to do so to either dispose of the property, sell the property, or do something different with it. Flexibility at this point on that parcel seems important. Extending the lease allows there to be some productive use without tying our hands for the future.
I love flexibility, but I hope that we give a lot of consideration to our agricultural community as well. And I know that we did this session. We were able to provide more funding for our agricultural community this session, primarily because of the loss of the SNAP benefits, the loss of the national surplus foods that have happened under DOGE and under the Trump administration's July 4th, 2025 bill that shut down a lot of access to resources and food for our whole country, not just here, but all over the country.
Flexibility here, and you're right, we need to figure out how to make sure that the national politics and the national actions being taken by the federal government are one of the things that we remain agile about. We need to be able to respond to circumstances that are changing. Unfortunately, it feels on a weekly basis. We have big events that are far beyond our ability to control that are going to impact us. They're impacting families today. Gas prices are higher than I've ever seen them. And fuel prices this winter are likely to be high. We've got to remain flexible because the environment we're in is, I don't want to say chaotic, but certainly less predictable than it has been in the past.
Well, I think it is chaotic for many people when they take a look at this. But now that you mentioned fuel prices, let's talk about one of our favorite issues, geothermal.
Yeah.
And I just love the fact that we've been working to get that together. We actually got some bonding passed under the geothermal legislation, and you've got the sewer thermal people.
Yep.
And I think I talked to some people that you have a connection with just yesterday.
Good.
About how to train people about geothermal so that we have more people out there understanding that we can expand access to different types of energy and have them here, not to try to supplant anything, but to also make ourselves more independent. Everybody talks about wanting to be independent. Well, here's a way that we can really be independent if we are able to get the analysis done that we need.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. When we talk about energy in the United States, we tend to talk about burning fuel. We
Right.
talk about oil, we talk about electricity, we talk about burning things. The truth is, energy exists in many different forms, and the thermal form of energy, what we've already heated, is unfortunately poorly accounted for in most of our systems, most of our thinking. The water in the ground is warmer than surface water. That difference in temperature makes a difference. We can capture that warmth, that energy in the geothermal water, and use it to reduce the energy, the fuels needed to bring it up to the temperatures we need to heat homes and to heat businesses and to take showers and this sort of thing. And then, interestingly, when we take a shower, we get that water up to 100 degrees, and we use it for milliseconds, and it goes right down the drain, and it's warmer than the groundwater. So when it's when it's sewer thermal systems, what we're talking about is capturing the warm water temperature from the showers and from the dishwasher and from the washing machine and the industrial production. That water in geothermal, you're generally talking about 50, somewhere in the range of 50 degrees Fahrenheit coming out of the ground. In sewer thermal, you're talking about 70 degrees coming out of the ground. So if you're trying to heat a home and you need to get that water up to 100 degrees to run through the heating system, going from 70 to 100 is a lot easier than going from 30 or 40 with water coming in from outside the home. That can be a big difference.
So in Massachusetts, they're still working on it. I don't know if they passed the law yet, but they have this law that whenever they dig up the road, they're going to try and line it with an opportunity for geothermal heating. And I'm going to try and propose something next time, working with the people who we've been working with at the Capitol, to see if that might work in Connecticut as well.
There's some pretty exciting examples of sewer thermal energy projects around the world. The Canadians in Vancouver and in Toronto have got very interesting projects where the sewer utility, has spun off a second utility, which charges for the hot water they're sending into the buildings. So they've become a heating utility as well. They're generating income, they're generating revenue, and reducing taxes by capturing the warmth of the sewer water.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What historically has just gone through the plant and then out into the river, warmer than it needs to be quite often, can be captured, and you can take that energy and turn it into revenue and dollars for taxpayers to enjoy the benefits of.
Yeah.
Very exciting stuff.
It is very exciting. I'm just so thrilled with it, and every time I start talking about geothermal, I just like
So
it.
that water is contained. It's not let loose into your shower.
No. What you
I
do?
just want to make sure.
Good point.
No.
I'm ignorant about this topic, and I hear about it from Susan a little bit. But
Yep.
I'm every man. I'm asking the question.
You're
for every
exactly
man.
right. It's
Every
the
man
right,
and women.
It's the right question.
Women.
People hear sewer thermal energy and think,
Right.
I don't want sewer water coming
Right.
into my home.
I
You
want to
don't.
clarify that. I knew you had the right answer.
What you do is you line the sewers with a sort of encased pipe.
Yeah.
So you're only running clean water in a loop inside of the larger pipe.
Right.
So what's happening is the heat transfers through the pipe into the otherwise cold water going through the sewer. So you're taking the heat from the sewer water in the large pipe and transferring it into the clean water in the circulation pump or in the circulation piping. So you're just taking the heat out. You're not taking any of the water.
I sort of figured that out for myself, but you know what? Now I know for sure.
Yep.
Now I know for sure, and people ought to, people need to know that.
Yeah.
But they need to know that these things are, it's a great deal.
In the U.S., it's a relatively new concept. I think we've got a large system up and running in Seattle. There's a large system up and running in Denver. There's a large system up and running in Washington, D.C. But other than that, this is still a pretty novel and unknown technology for most Americans. The Europeans have been doing it for 20 years. It's common in Canada, relatively common in Canada, and it's common in Australia, New Zealand.
Well, their
Iceland
demographics
too.
are different. Their
Iceland,
population
yes.
density is.
Iceland's an amazing example because they've got Iceland is geothermal, and they're sitting on a lava bed underneath the island. So everyone in Iceland is heating their homes with geothermal, and the roads aren't plowed. The roads are heated with pipes that melt everything that hits the road.
Wow, that's great.
It's very cool. It's very.
Wow.
We don't have the benefit of being on. I guess it's a benefit, right?
I
guess it's a benefit.
It can be until the thing erupts.
Erupts, right.
As long as we don't have right.
They've had that happen to them, and it's
That's
been
true.
kind
As
of
long as it-
terrifying. Yeah.
That's not great.
As long as we don't have a Mount Vesuvius or
Right.
Pompeii type situation. Okay, well that's great. And you're talking about being, it's better for quality of life with that kind of benefit, and also perhaps equally as important, if not more important, saving money.
Yep.
And we're always looking for ways to save money because we have the cost of everything is going so far up.
So every megawatt that you don't have to burn something for is a megawatt saving the planet. I mean, it really is a big difference. If you can figure out how to design systems so you're capturing the waste heat and reusing it, it's really heat recycling. Think about it that way, because again, you're heating the water for your shower, you use it for a millisecond, it's down the drain, and it's gone forever. That's waste heat unless we capture it again. If we capture it again, we can save money, we can save time, and it certainly helps reduce the amount of fuel oil or gas or wood that you need to heat the water.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. And if we can fly to the moon, we can do that. There are people who can figure it out, no question. And you two are going to help.
It's
Best of our abilities.
it's actually a pretty well-established technology at this point. There's plenty of companies, U.S. companies, that do this. They just don't do it here a lot.
Right, right.
Actually, you can go online at Home Depot's website right now and buy a system for your home that will capture the hot water coming out of your dishwasher, washing machine, and shower. And what that will do is they run that over the water that's coming into the house and warm it before. It's a preheater that gets into your hot water before your outside water gets into the hot water heater. It goes through this system, warms that water up so that the water's not coming straight from outside and going from your outside temperature to the hot water heater directly. It warms before that, so you end up with an efficiency in heating up the water that you're using domestically.
Sounds great.
That system, it's cheap. It's like $600-700, and the payback on it's a couple of years.
Wow.
That's
a couple
fabulous.
of years is not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to do more of that sort of thing with what
I've
we have.
never seen one installed in the U.S. They
Yeah.
sell them in Canada all the time.
Oh, wow. Well, we go to Maine, we'll stop in Home Depot in Canada.
It may be that the maniacs have got this figured out. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I'll have to check out with the family.
She's a maniac.
I am, yeah, but
Born in
I was
Bangor.
transferred to Connecticut.
Came here at a very young age, though.
Yeah, too, yeah.
Got herself straightened out.
But
Got it right.
One of the things that you informed me about, and I was unaware of, first of all, I'm glad to see the Eastern Connecticut State University students are touring our sewer facility.
Yep.
And I think we have a really good one. So
This facility is really an amazing facility. One of the things that I don't think people in this community really appreciate is just how well run our sewer plant is. Most sewer plants use a lot of chemicals. It's sort of a lazy approach or a modern approach to this, but our sewer plant runs largely on biology. Mm-hmm. Our folks have figured out how to keep the balance of bacteria in the digesters where it needs to be, so that most of the action is natural. It's biological and not chemical. And that's a big deal. It saves tons of money because chemicals are expensive, and it's better for the environment. So our guys are really doing sewer treatment incredibly well. And I wish, it's one of those things. Municipal systems, nobody really appreciates some of these underlying things that you just sort of assume are there. But what they do down there is really amazing.
Well, I just want to add that to the water treatment facility as well.
It's true.
And I was at their presentation a couple of weeks ago, and they just went on to all about riparian rights and environmental requirements that should be analyzed in terms of any type of development near any river area. And I was really, really impressed with all the work that they've done and all the environmental analysis. So it was really a very, very excellent presentation. And we also have a wonderfully managed and operational waterworks.
We have the best tasting water in the state.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, it is one of the things that we do incredibly well.
Yeah.
We do water incredibly well here in Wyndham. Both the drinking water and the treatment of water that's been used in domestic and industrial facilities and industrial operations as well. We manage water very, very well.
Yes, we do. And I shout out to Mike Callahan, who has been the director, the chairman of the Waterworks Board. He's an engineer. He's been so involved in upgrading the facilities over the years. So we've been very, very lucky to have him. And of course, Councilman Bill Sayers has been there working with all the other members of the Waterworks and also the sewage treatment people.
And of course, I can't have one shout out without also shouting out to Mike Turgeon, who's the superintendent of the drinking water facilities, and David Diebholz, who's the acting superintendent and chief operator over at the sewer plant.
Yes, well, thank you for that. And we are really thrilled that you're here. And we have so much more. You do so much every week. Our town manager, Rob Zernetsky, is here. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our wonderful producer, Matt Rupar, who will bring us our sponsors. And we will be right back after these messages.
Hey, Dennis O'Brien back again. I didn't say very much in the first segment and may not say that much in the second segment. We got two great public officials here. State Representative Susan Johnson, my co-host, and our town manager, Rob Zernetsky. Rob, you've been there now since, what, January of 2025?
January 29th, 2025.
Right near the beginning of February. You haven't been there that long.
My first day was actually February 2nd, but yep.
Okay, but it's been what is a long, strange trip. Jerry Garcia saying that or something?
That's it.
I think so. What a short, seemingly long. You know, there's been a lot going on. I mean, and
Yeah.
he came in at the beginning of the budget season last year.
Yep.
Actually, it had already started.
Well into the budget.
Well
season,
into
actually,
it
yeah.
without much having been done, really. I don't think.
So, yeah, the way the budget works here is the town departments get their budgets to the town manager by January 15th. And then by February 15th, the town manager's got to have a budget to the town council. And then by March 15th, the town council's got to have a budget to the Board of Finance. So, yes, February 2nd was right smack dab in the middle of a very steep upward climb.
You know that schedule well by now. If you had your percentage of your time that you spent on budgeting and working with budgets and doing all phases of budget, the budget process has been very high.
Yeah, for 30 years now. I mean, this budgeting is government administration. It really is. The budget is the document by which governments are run.
Right.
If you're not managing to your budget, if you're not paying attention to the budget in every aspect of what you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, and it's a big job and it's very difficult and he's had to work very hard ever since. Talk about hitting the ground running, and Susan wants to say something.
I do want to say something because I want to say that a town like Wyndham has a very different type of budgetary system. It is not like Simsbury or even Mansfield, for that matter, because we are divided up into so many little pieces, and we have so many other special necessities. So we have our town of Wyndham, we have the Willimantic Service District, we have the Villages Service District, we have 4 different fire departments, we have 3 different types of police. We have local police, Eastern Student State Police, and then we have the Colchester Police, State Police. We have that for less than 25,000 people. We have an airport. We have a university. We have federally qualified health centers. We have a hospital. We have nursing facilities, 3. We have all these things that are all different types of tax systems that are applied in these circumstances. We also have more public housing on a per capita basis than anywhere else in the state of Connecticut except Hartford, which means we don't get any payment in lieu of taxes for all those places that provide subsidized housing for the low-income population, which we are thrilled to provide, and which I have to give a shout out to Kim Haddad. She does a great job. But we really have to take a look at why we're not getting that money, and that was discontinued in 2015, and I've tried to bring it back, and I've been told by many of the housing advocates not to do that, which I don't understand in the least. Nevertheless, we have hugely complex things, and then you go to the education time, and we are an alliance district, so the money doesn't go straight through the town hall all the time. Some of the increases in the education budget go, because we're an alliance district, go straight to the Board of Education. Some goes through the town to the Board of Education. So that's two different types of systems for educational funding. Just to give a little bit of a pre-discussion on the difficulties that a town manager might face in conjunction with our wonderful superintendent of schools, Gamero, who work very, very hard together to make sure that we are able to take care of the people in Windham. But it is not the same as Mansfield or any of our surrounding towns. We have many, many, many details that nobody else has to deal with.
So you're right, and I've said on many occasions that this is probably the most complicated budgeting system I've ever seen. When I was city manager in Norwich, the process was that the manager proposed a budget to the town council, or the city council, and the city council deliberated, added and subtracted, and passed a budget. Period. That was it. In Windham, the town manager recommends a budget to the town council. The superintendent recommends a budget to the Board of Education. The town council comes up with a budget that it recommends to the Board of Finance. The Board of Education comes up with a budget that it recommends to the Board of Finance. The Board of Finance comes up with a budget that it recommends to a town meeting. The town meeting recommends a budget to the voters. Meanwhile, the Willimantic Taxing District comes up with a budget for the Willimantic Service District and recommends it to a town meeting and to the voters. Meanwhile, the Windham First Taxing District comes up with a budget that it recommends to its voters. Meanwhile, the commissioners of the water works come up with a budget which they pass administratively. And the sewer district comes up with a budget, or the sewer commission comes up with a budget that it passes administratively. That is radically different than municipalities really anywhere else. This is a very, very unique budgeting system. Complicated, it has its virtues, and it has its foibles. But it does mean that we have to work very hard at making sure that we're keeping track of all of the moving parts. One of the things that comes out of this is sort of the spillover, because while you've got this, I'd call it political apparatus around the decision-making around budgets, eventually all of this stuff does have to work into one administrative system. So we've got one finance department that is managing the Willimantic Taxing District budget, the general fund budget, helping with the administration of the sewer and the water budget, and helping with the administration of the schools budgets. So all of that requires a lot of juggling. And as you're coming and putting the budgets together during the January to June timeframe, it means sort of anticipating where the challenges are going to be, administering what everybody's talking about and putting in place. Mm-hmm. It is not an easy budget.
Sounds like there's a need for streamlining.
So I have said it this way. This is very complicated. And if I were designing a system, it's not what I'd put in place.
Right.
But any system can be made to work if you're willing to sort of compromise, work together, collaborate, and coordinate your efforts. It's not an unworkable system. And again, it does have its virtues. It does give people a lot more say than you see. When I was town manager in South Kingstown, Rhode Island, the budget process was identical to what I described in Norwich, except that upon petition, the voters could force a referendum. So, there's multiple approaches to
That's
this.
like Mansfield.
Yeah, which is kind of a nice. I think it's a kind of nice middle ground.
It happens once in a while in
Yep.
Mansfield. Not,
So-
not often.
So in Norwich, there was no option to do that.
Right.
In South Kingstown and Mansfield, you can do it if you've got a petition, you've got enough signatures. Here, it's continuous and it's multiples. It's at least 3 budget referenda. At least it's one for Wyndham, one for the Willimantic, and one for the general fund. So it's
Right.
at least 3. And in recent years, we've seen a lot more than 3.
It's always been 3, even before the Willimantic Taxing District was created, because the Board of Finance handled that function.
Right. But now, you can also have multiples because it fails and it has to go back out and it has to go back out.
Well, we had a situation in, I think, 1994 when we passed the middle school, because, that was something that James Flores and I led the way on that campaign. We won that campaign for a new middle school that we ended up paying $24 million total, and I think only $8 million locally. And it passed by the vote of 1964 to 1960.
Wow.
That was in 1994. So the opponents of the middle school, they sued in state court, went all the way to the state Supreme Court, and they lost. But in the meantime, there were several. It took, I believe, 5 referendums to pass a budget. They were very, very angry about losing the school vote, and actually sued, and they fought it all the way. And I think by the time we finally passed the budget, the total vote was about 4,000. It was 2,000 something to 1,900. It was amazing.
That's a big number.
That's a big number, and you don't get anywhere near that now.
Yeah.
It's I could go on and on for an hour about my feelings about why that's so, but I'll leave it at that.
But let's just talk a little bit about the fact that lasted, that contentious budget time went right through the normal time when it would be a budget referendum in May,
Right.
all the way through to February the following year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was the last one. There were 5 different referendums, and I know that I worked with numerous people who worked on that. And finally, there were people that came from other towns to help get the vote out, to
Yeah,
get
it was,
the thing passed.
It was quite a cause célèbre.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was. But, I want to also mention that I know Senator Flexer and I are very pleased that we were able to bring $5,578 into the town for school, and another in town aid. And so we have really brought in a lot of resources to the town. And of course, the end of session comes about the same time as the budget deliberations occur. And of course, every single town does and I just got through explaining, and so did you, and so did Dennis, about how complicated our system is here. And so for money to come in and have people to understand what that means and to be able to apply it is something that creates some trying to figure out how do we deal with that. And I know that we worked really hard with the governor to make sure people understood that we're trying to take a look at some of the systems that we have that are not providing the resources that they should. Now, mind you, it takes a long time for 169 towns to understand that we have how the education cost sharing grant works, how a town that has not just an ECS formula that's been underfunded for years, which nobody would recognize for years, but also is an alliance district, and they say, oh, you're an alliance district, you must get more money. No, we actually got less money. And so we never actually got fully funded until this year. So now we're in the same group with all the other towns that have been saying, hey, we haven't got our ECS formula since 2013. Okay, now we hadn't even been up to the ECS formula in 2013. We were underfunded. So it took a long time. The complexities here, and I don't want to go too far with this, but just to have people understand that the Alliance District now is being funded at the East Education Cost Sharing Grant level. And now we're looking, and the governor is looking, and we're all looking together to try and bring up the per pupil cost, and then try and first bring it up to where it should be, since it hadn't been raised since 2013, and then going from that period, once we reach that period for the inflationary increase, to index it eventually.
Right. So, first of all, thank you, and thanks to Senator Flexer. These additional funds are just amazing. Having this amount of money come to us this year in particular is a godsend. It's a huge benefit for the community. The interesting thing about having a lot of civic involvement around this stuff is there's a lot of discussion, and there was some confusion. The legislature was saying one thing, one set of talking points about how these were going to be applied, and the governor was saying some other things about the way that these monies were going to be applied. And I do think that folks got confused in the center of that conversation, or in the middle of that conversation.
As somebody who operates in several towns, I can assure you that confusion reigned everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The good news for us is we do have 5.8, is it?
Yes.
It's $5.578 million coming this year. It's a huge amount of money. That's 10% of the. It's more than 10%. It's about 14% of the school budget. This is a very welcomed change in the state policy. It's made a huge difference for our prospects next year, and it will reduce taxes in Windham. It will reduce taxes in Willimantic. That's huge. The thing that we're sort of focused on at this point, the thing that the Board of Finance is trying to work through, is what does it mean for us in the out years? This is clearly going to help us pay our bills this year, but because the minimum budgetary MBR, the R is requirement. The minimum budget requirement is calculated on the spend this year, we could find ourselves in a situation where the MBR is where we thought it was going to be, should we have paid for it all ourselves. But there may be a way for us to adjust the MBR so that it's not going to be quite as impactful next year. What we don't want to do is sort of sign on to a subscription for next year that we're not ready to pay next year. And I think we'll work that out. It's not a hard problem in theory. It's a difficult problem to explain and describe because it's accounting. And accounting and politics really don't mix well, which is part of the reason I think we had the confusion in the messaging coming out of Hartford. But this is a good problem to have. It's a problem that is not going to bite us in the butt big time under any circumstances. The question is just whether we can smooth it out a little bit and not have sort of a jump from $52 million to $54 million next year. If we can figure out how to do that, it's going to be good on top of good.
So I am working with our legislative research group and the Commissioner of Education to clarify the exact language and have it written in ways that people will be able to understand. But the legislature's understanding is that the money from the state in this particular circumstance does not have an impact on the minimum budget requirement.
And I've read everything I can get my hands on, including the legislation 3 times, and I concur with that. But that's not what we're hearing from the Commissioner of Education's office.
So that's why I went to our legislative research person, who is a really brilliant someone who's been working on education financing issues long before I got to the Capitol. And he has gone and contacted the commissioner, so we will see what those results create. So I'm going to try and make sure we have good clarification, because we heard that this memo came out from the commissioner, and it may be, again, I haven't seen the memo, but every single town is different. Every single town has a different financing system, like I said. Yep. And so I don't know what the memo that the commissioner came out with, and maybe that the commissioner wasn't basing it on all the different types of financing systems that we have in all 169 towns.
I've been working on an analogy here, and I'm going to try it again.
Okay.
So the circumstance we find ourselves in is like this. Imagine that you're at home and you get a piece of mail, you get an email from Netflix. Netflix says you're currently paying $35 a month. I'm making this number up, but I don't know what we pay for Netflix, but whatever it is.
Something like that.
$35 a month for Netflix. If you sign on to this deal, you can have Netflix for free for the next year. But starting next year, you're going to pay $40. That's the sort of thing we're dealing with here. How do we get that $5 difference next year to a place where it makes sense for us?
Yep.
And it's not a hard, bad problem for us to have. It's a good problem. We're going to have Netflix for the year for nothing. And the question then becomes, what are we doing next year?
I
It's
like
good trouble.
Good-
Anyway,
nothing like good trouble. Yeah.
thank you so much for that explanation, Mr. Town Manager. We're down to our last minute, and thank you so much for being on the show. And what's the next step? You know, if you can describe that in less than a minute.
The Board of Finance is meeting on Wednesday, and they will be deciding on their path forward. They have suggested that they are interested in actually bringing the number on the total expenditures down. We're working on that in Town Hall now. We think we've got a plan for reducing the expenditures. We also know that the tax levy is going to be lower no matter what, because the state money will be used to reduce tax burden.
And you will be at that meeting, and you will help them find the right way, based on all your studies indicate. And
We got
from
great
here
staff,
on.
great staff, good people working on this.
Okay, fantastic. And thank you so much, Rob Zarnitsky, for coming on the show. Always a pleasure to have you here, along with State Representative Johnson, Matt Rupar, on Let's Talk About It. We will be back next week, same time, with another great guest. Thanks for listening, folks.